Welcome back to theCUBE. We are here live at Las Vegas. It's Dell Technologies World 2026, and we are talking all things Dell and their ecosystem. I'm here with my co-host Dave Vellante, and joining us now are two solid partners within that ecosystem. We have Kenny Lowe, Solutions Platform Product Management at Dell Technologies and a Microsoft Azure MVP. Welcome, Kenny. And Raghu Venkataraman, Principal PM at Microsoft. Welcome, folks.
Hey guys, for having us.
How are you feeling? It's night one. Nobody's probably has hit the casinos or hit the bars here in Vegas yet. We're all still fresh.
Oh yeah.
So we are going to talk all things Dell Private Cloud and this very long relationship that is constantly evolving between Microsoft and Dell. So let's start with you, if that's okay, Raghu. Talk to us a little bit about what you're seeing broadly in this space right now, this kind of increasing need for sovereign private cloud, and what that really means at this moment in 2026.
Yeah, one of the key feedback that we are getting from customers, right, is on the topic of digital sovereignty, right? Customers want to have control over where the data lives, who has access to them, and under what jurisdiction it needs to operate. And all these three things, right, needs to be run either fully connected or intermittently connected or completely air-gapped. And with that, we also know that customers have an AA mandate, right? The AA mandate manifests itself into a set of infrastructure ask that is across your data, your models, your infrastructure, and your operations. And that actually means that we have to actually kind of work with partners like Dell towards developing joint solutions.
And Kenny, an AI mandate is one thing, right? That sounds relatively simple. We know that it's actually a very complex and, like I said, evolving event, right? And there's a lot to solve for here. One key part of this, or one key part of the bottleneck of this whole story right now is memory.
Oh yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about that. Like, what are you seeing, and where do you believe the solution lies?
Sure. I mean, one of the major trends that we see in the industry just now is what we'll call memory and storage cost volatility there, and that's just going up and up and up. So the cost of solutions are going up, and that's really leading to people having to be much smarter about how they architect their solutions as well. So what has worked in the past won't necessarily work moving forward. We need to be able to right-size workloads in the right way on the right platform, so you're not overpaying for the infrastructure that you're running on. That coupled with what I'll call hypervisor uncertainty, the looking into additional hypervisors or new ways of working, Azure Local being one of the most common hypervisors people are looking to move to, is really causing people to look at what does my architecture look like in order to support my workloads, including Azure AI services and things like that we're bringing down on premises. So the core foundational model of the data center is shifting, and I would say shifting away a bit from hyperconverged to a more disaggregated model is what we're seeing.
Well, it makes sense, right? Because hyperconverged is kind of a memory hog, and so if the memory price is going through the roof, I mean, maybe if prices drop, hyperconverged will come back because it's simple and it's, but right now, that's a real pain point. I want to come back to digital sovereignty because I think a lot of people, when they hear digital sovereignty, they think, and it's true, nations, governments, et cetera, but it's not just an international trend. Regulated industries here want digital sovereignty. And Raghu, I wonder if you could double click on that and explain what you're hearing from customers.
Yeah, so whether it's a government agency or a healthcare network or or even like other industries, right, that you won't really actually kind of think of, right, in terms of transportation and stuff like that. So you hear that, hey, you know what? For me, the data and the operation of the data is extremely critical to me, right? And these are mandates. These are not actually options for customers. These are mandates. So they need to be compliant. They need to actually kind of operate in a secure way, and they need to actually kind of comply by the legal rules that has been imposed upon them, which they have to actually kind of preserve.
So, how do you guys help, specifically? I mean, obviously you have a private cloud solution, you've got Microsoft, hybrid company, you've got Azure, you've got local, you've got the tooling, but specifically, how are you helping organizations? Maybe you can take us through an example, a generic example. poke at that a bit.
Well, Azure Local is designed to bring just enough Azure on premises, so to bring the Azure cloud experience to the on-premises world, either in a fully connected or fully disconnected manner there. So,
and that's an identical, substantially identical experience, or is it kind of same?
So if you're in a connected state,
but is that,
so if you're in a connected state, it's the same Azure portal. So you log into portal.azure.com and you deploy your workloads, but they're running in your data center, not a Microsoft data center, so that's the fundamental difference there.
So it's the cloud experience.
Yeah.
Okay, please carry on.
If you're running in a disconnected state, we need to bring that management experience on premises as well, so you have the Azure portal experience running in an appliance VM inside the solution itself, and it's the same experience. So the same Azure Resource Manager, the same way that you would deploy VMs and Kubernetes, the same AKS experience, and then a subset of the Azure services that you have as well. Things that make sense, data-driven services, things like SQL managed instances, some of the Azure AI services like Foundry Local, things like that. Things that you want to modernize around your data where it is on-prem.
But the whole premise of this is that you are bringing AI to the data, right? It's this idea of like having a very agile, fast approach.
Yeah.
But there are bottlenecks to this too, right? It isn't, again, as simple as it sounds, I'm sure. What are you guys seeing in terms of like the actual real life use cases? Like, you know, we all know data's been massively unstructured, right? And you hear mixed things. AI likes unstructured data, AI hates unstructured data. What's the truth here? Like, and what are the real fundamentals that need to be in place just to work effortlessly?
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about the newest thing that we are launching with Foundry Local on Azure Local, right? So what we did was to have Foundry Local on personal devices, right? Your laptops and your desktops and all these things, right? So it's a runtime that actually runs on your machine. You get local native inference, right? Completely on a machine. It's fully secure. It's anytime you actually kind of have a prompt, it does not rely on a cloud service and it doesn't come back right from a cloud service. Everything stays local. The exact same model we are extending right now with Foundry Local on Azure Local, right? So everything is actually going to be on-prem, everything is going to be contained, and we want to actually kind of bring AI where the data is rather than the other way around, so that you can use the data and you can have all these models and pipelines and data to actually kind of operate with.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think from my perspective, one of the fundamentals that you need to have in place to do an Azure Local solution well is to have a rock solid infrastructure which is designed to run Azure Local specifically. So that's what we've developed with Dell Private Cloud. It's what we've done with Microsoft for many years to this point, using our AX nodes and our hyperconverged solutions, but we're now bringing that intelligence to a disaggregated model where we can have separate compute and storage, but treated in an almost hyperconverged way. So the value proposition of HCI, I would say, was taking compute, storage, and sometimes networking and collapsing it down into a single manageable model there, which we didn't have with Disaggregated, but Dell Private Cloud is bringing the automation to enable that, so we get the benefits of a disaggregated infrastructure, scaling the compute and storage independently, being able to right-size things, not losing some of your infrastructure to the HCI overhead, all those things, but we get the benefits of being able to manage these as a unified whole.
Explain something to me, because why is AI a catalyst for disaggregated on-prem? Because we've had, you know, the modern data stack separated compute from storage, right? I mean, kind of Snowflake is the poster child for that.
Yeah.
It seems like AI was the catalyst for on-prem. Why? Why did it take so long? Why is it so important now?
We could say that about so many things, right? But yes.
Big question, but why is disaggregated so important? It's because disaggregated storage can be attached to and work across multiple different platforms and ecosystems and serve that data or transfer that data between these different places. Whereas if we look at HCI, the data is really locked within an ecosystem, locked within a single vendor's ecosystem there, and it's more difficult to bring stuff to that across a unified storage stack there, so it becomes very important.
Okay, so it really, the answer to my question, I guess, is if I understood it correctly, is that HCI was the predominant model and it didn't lend itself to that disaggregation. So the combination of higher memory prices, obviously AI as a catalyst, it's like the perfect storm for
It is a perfect storm, yeah.
And I would also argue that disaggregated is the catalyst for AI rather than the other way around.
Okay, we'll argue over a beer on that one.
Let's talk about the fun topic right now, cost. Okay, specifically total cost of ownership, which we know is increasingly a challenge. again, it's a complex time, right? We talk about tokenomics, we talk about all of the unpredictability in these models right now, what the next 5 years looks like. It's a terrible time to be a CFO, really, right?
Yeah.
Talk about how this helps with that. How this helps with, especially from the perspective of control, right? Which we all know CFOs love, predictability, right? They like repeated cycles of predictability.
Yeah, absolutely. So cost is a very important factor, and we all know about like the memory cost, the storage cost that has been increasing in the market and exploding, right, tremendously and stuff like that, right? But what we are actually kind of noticing, right, is the fact that the cost per token has been actually kind of decreasing, right, over a period of time right now. And we're also noticing that there is so much optimizations that is actually coming in the market towards ensuring that AI not only actually kind of runs effectively, but also runs cheaper, and it has had a very positive trend, right, in terms of cost over time, right? The other thing is that, right, there is purpose-built AI, right? There are very specific models, specific optimizations that can run, for example, Foundry Local, I talked about it, right? Foundry Local can be optimized around your CPU, GPU, and NPUs, so that, right, you can make sure that the right model fits the right, or uses the right kind of components towards kind of getting the right kind of solution. And that is very powerful, right, in terms of what our customers want right now.
Yeah, in terms of the cost optimizations that we see in the new disaggregated model that we're doing here, you'll probably be shocked to hear that when we do comparisons for the same workload running on HCI versus disaggregated, we're seeing around about a 64% cost saving going disaggregated just now. It is significant cost benefit.
And where's the bulk of that realized? Like, if you were to break that down into line items, what are we talking?
Number one is that you get all of your compute available to you, so you don't lose some of that to the HCI overhead there, so all the compute is usable there, so you don't necessarily need to buy as much in the first place. And then on the storage side, we have extremely efficient storage there, so we get much better data reduction and data deduplication compression on PowerStore, for example, as well. We just announced a 6-to-1 data reduction guarantee on PowerStore this week, which is financially backed. So if you don't receive that, then we will make it right for you as well. So being able to get that level of data reduction, plus use all your compute there, plus be able to share the storage across multiple ecosystems here, the efficiency and cost benefits are just phenomenal.
We like those guarantees with teeth. Raghu, I want to come back to the cost per token comment that you made, because people are rightly concerned about token cost, and they're using more and more, they get their token bill, it's like the cloud bill, but if we're on a Moore's Law, 2x every 18 months. We're at 10x every year now.
Yeah.
And so, cost per token is dropping 90% per year, and we're making the assumption that that's going to continue. If it doesn't, that could be a problem, but let's assume it will, with all the great work that you guys, the hyperscalers, NVIDIA, AMD, Intel, are all doing some great work. So that curve's going to continue, which just means people are going to start consuming more and more and more, especially as the ROI is there. They're manufacturing intelligence, they're monetizing that intelligence, they're getting more efficiency. That truly is the promise of AI. So I guess my question is, do you think I understand why with memory prices going up, we're sort of focused today, but if you look long term, the potential is enormous in terms of productivity impacts.
It is.
You draw the curves on your log graph paper, and 10 years from now, the world is going to look a lot different. What do you think about that?
No, that is totally true, right? I can see from a Microsoft perspective, right? There is so many optimizations in my group itself, right? At this point in time, everybody has an agent right now, and that agent is being shared across a lot of different groups, and they are actually kind of finding ways to optimize the agent through open source and stuff, right? So the possibilities are endless, right? Even within like an organization such as us, right? In terms of how we are actually kind of doing, that reflects itself into other things, right? Like CI/CD, pipelines, testing, validation, every single aspect of it. So with that, optimizations that are actually going to be tremendous, right? We think that there is going to be more purpose-built applications and more agents and more models which are completely optimized for a very specific workload. And that will be extremely powerful in terms of reducing cost and also more adoption as well.
Yeah, so storage is becoming sort of this context capability.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about disaggregated. You guys have a big lineup of storage. I think PowerStore is sort of the standard, if you will, of your efficiency in your lineup. You're also starting to converse more in, kind of business terms, I'll say, as opposed to box terms, right? So the storage layer is changing and getting more and more functional and more important because agents are going to produce a lot of storage. So how does this, from Dell's standpoint and Microsoft with the partnership, translate into better efficiency, lower cost? How do you keep on that 10x curve, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that's really going to generate a lot of data moving forward is agent memory. So agents need to build memory and retain context there. That is only going to grow storage there as well. So we have the storage of the actual data that you want to bring intelligence to, but then there's additional context that's built around that as well, which just continues to grow and grow and grow the storage footprint there more and more. So storage, we know, has gravity, data has gravity, so workloads will be built around where the data is and where it grows. That's where Azure Local comes in, because we bring the workload to the data there and grow that within that. And we also get the full power of things like the GPUs that you have inside your Azure Local there. So you buy the hardware, you buy the GPUs, you get the full power of that at your disposal without any concerns, except the electricity, of course, and the power and cooling, but that is yours. You run it to its maximum capacity and you get the full benefit out of it. That's predictable. That's good for a CFO perspective there as well. Similarly with the storage, you own that storage, so you get the full I/O performance benefits of that there, not paying per I/O or per gig or whatever, like you do in some models there as well. So Azure Local can bring a lot of cost predictability and power at the same time to where the data is on-prem.
Wow. Well, it's certainly a very convincing value proposition, I have to say, right? Total cost of ownership goes down, it's agile, it's, it meets the need, especially when you think of security and control.
Yeah.
But let's just talk for a second about, sometimes maybe one missed element of this, which is the IT management side of it, right? The infrastructure management side, the day two operations, what that looks like for Dell Private Cloud. Talk us through that a little bit, like how, I'm sure it's positive, but explain.
Yeah, I mean, from a day two perspective, especially around lifecycle management and doing updates, that's where people actually care, because that's when the workloads are running, that's when it actually matters what happens. When an update lands and you click apply, is it going to work? So we've put a huge amount of joint investment into creating a lab environment or a production environment where when Microsoft is testing new features for Azure Local, that's done on Dell hardware, so that at the point where Microsoft releases an update, it's already been validated on our stuff and you know you can click apply and know it'll work with confidence. And then we as Dell integrate a whole bunch into Azure Update Manager as well, so whenever we have a new update, those just drop into Azure Update Manager as well for Azure Local, so the customer just has to go into this one place, Azure Update Manager, they see the Microsoft updates, which we have validated jointly together already, they see the Dell updates, they can click go, and those will all be updated together as a unified proposition there.
Love it. Doing the dirty work before it hits the field.
Exactly.
Kind of the days of patching, right, and all of that stress.
Yes.
Well, folks, certainly a fascinating time and a great partnership, as always, between Dell and Microsoft. I know you guys have been in this industry together a long time as companies, and it seems as though this message and this market proposition is constantly evolving. Close us out. Talk to us a little bit about what's ahead for you both, especially, I guess, the next 6 to 12 months, because that feels like a decade right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, from our perspective as Dell, working on the Dell Private Cloud, it's making sure we have the most robust foundation in the data center possible. So whether that is across HCI solutions or across Disaggregated, what we want to make sure is that you have the best day one experience, which then leads into the best day two experience. Day two being a complete misnomer, by the way, because it's really day 2, 3, 4, 5, 1,000, 2,000. That's when things actually matter. That's where our focus is. Build that foundation so that our friends at Microsoft can land their services on that in the best way possible.
Yeah. From my perspective, every single new thing that is coming in the market is affecting the silicon and the application layer, right? And everything in between. So with that, we need to actually partner very closely with partners like Dell towards kind of developing solution, which actually has a very simplified experience for customers. So he talked about, right, hey, the unified experience of actually kind of doing updates, doing deployments, right? How do you actually kind of take care of other opinionated infrastructure applications and stuff like that, right? So we have done something like Foundry Local, M365 Local, right? All these things with joint partnerships we know exactly the right kind of reference architecture, what we need to test, how we need to package it, how we need to deliver it to customers, and that goes a long way, right, in terms of the value prop that we jointly offer to customers.
Well, partnership is certainly paramount.
Yeah.
Kenny, Raghu, thank you so much for joining us on theCUBE.
Thanks, guys.
For having us.
Thanks. All right.
I'm Gemma Allen. We are here with theCUBE at Las Vegas. It's Dell Technologies World 2026, and I'm joined by my co-host Dave Vellante. We are talking all things Dell and this ecosystem. Stay tuned.